I'm Ajamian, and I am one of the owners at Shagbark Seed and Mill here in Athens, Ohio, which is part of the Appalachian region. And we started in 2010, so we've been milling for 12 years. The reason we focused on milled products and dry beans, we also produce dry beans here, is that those are the primary sources of nutrition and calories in a plate worldwide, and has been since agriculture began. And yet the local food system is focusing on fruits and vegetables, which are really important, but you can't really live on those things. Every town in the United States has a mill road or a Mill Creek road. Every town. And that's because every town had a mill. And starting in the 1960s and 70s, those mills started disappearing. Ohio actually grows enough food for people in Ohio, more than enough, but not over 90% gets exported either to other states or to other countries. In the United States, we spend $3 trillion a year on food, but the real cost is $9 trillion. When you think about all the inputs that aren't counted, it's hard. I think it's really hard to have a business in any food sector. We're working in the one that's like the toughest one, because you can't just go out and wash your crop and then deliver it to your customers. You know, you have to have a manufacturing system, and the government is not supporting us at all. We don't get any support for what we're doing, but Big Ag is. And so what we've learned kind of has become a headline, and that is that the industrial food system is really focused on these commodity crops, these crops that we consider commodity crops. And the reason for that is that they can, that system, that multinational business conglomerate can process tens of millions of bushels of these different crops and sell them for a very tiny margin because of the high volume that they're working with. So it's an economy of scale thing, but the economy of scale is so different. It's so much bigger in that part of agriculture than any other part of the industrial world. Most of what's growing in the United States is feed. So it isn't even for human consumption. And it's not, and those crops that are the ones I'm thinking of mostly are corn and soy. Those crops are subsidized, what is it, $15 billion a year? And if we were getting subsidies for smaller operations and farms that were doing small grains and dry beans that aren't soybeans, that would be phenomenal. So on the one hand, I'm talking about like get rid of subsidies, we're spending too much money, we don't need that. And on the other hand, I'm saying people aren't making money as farmers. And both are true, because the subsidies are supporting multinational corporations. That is a concentration of farms. And if it's grain, if you're talking about grain farming, like the infrastructure for that is tremendous. And you can't just decide, I want to be a grain farmer. You know, $100,000 for a combine, you know, the land is really expensive, etc. Wealthy farms do not need those subsidies. And I will go face to face with anybody who wants to disagree with me from a wealthy farm, because they do not need, we need to look at people who are trying to start farms, trying to reinvigorate or reconnect with their heritage as farmers. I mean, I think that like what really needs to happen is businesses like mine, these mills around the country, need to get more support so that they can, in fact, have a sustainable operation. Other parts of this sector of agriculture are highly subsidized because they're focusing on these two crops, GMO corn and GMO soybeans. You know, help us make our community better. That's what needs to happen.